I'm on a mission to find the best way to learn vocabulary. So for the last 2 months or so, I have been experimenting with an app called Clozemaster, and I've been using it every day, and it's been a pretty interesting experience. Now, as far as I can tell, most of the experts pretty much agree that if you're gonna learn a new language, one of the most important things you need to do is focus on learning lots of words.
So, let me begin by saying that I have always felt that the most important task in language learning is to acquire words.
Use the words and phrases you're learning immediately, even if you make a lot of mistakes at first.
Now, words are without a doubt the bricks of a language. We all agree that without words we cannot speak, we cannot form sentences and convey our thoughts.
So that's why focused and strategic vocabulary acquisition is one of my 3 main pillars of language learning. Now, you can learn words just through reading and having conversation practice, and the words will come at you in a little bit more of a random order, which is fine, but I think it's really important to just take a few minutes out of your day to sit down and say, I am just gonna spend this time to learn some words. So over the past 6 years or so, I've tried a whole bunch of SRS systems like Anki, Memrise, the SRS on Link. Pimsleur also sort of incorporates some SRS features into their methodology, as well as just physical flashcards. And if you don't know what SRS is, it stands for Spaced Repetition System. And the whole idea behind this is that when you're reviewing vocabulary words, you don't want to review every word every day, which might sound a little bit counterintuitive. But the reason is that when you review a word and then you review it again the next day, your ability to remember that word is based entirely on your short-term memory from the day before. So the ideal way to learn new vocabulary words and the ideal way to review new words is to wait as many days as necessary up until the point when you're right about to forget that word. And that's gonna make your brain actually have to work a little bit harder to remember the word. And all of that extra effort you're putting in is actually really beneficial in helping you develop strong memories of that word. Anyways, I had been using Memrise to learn Thai vocabulary for several months, and that was okay. I more or less enjoyed it, but the course that I was using was teaching me Thai words in isolation without any kind of context, with no sentences, no examples to show me how this vocabulary fits into a phrase or into a sentence. And honestly, it was just starting to get a little bit tedious and boring. And I personally have this issue where I start using a language learning platform, a language learning app, and I start off really strong. I might use it for 20, 30, 40 minutes a day, and then as time goes on, I just start to fizzle out and get lazy and maybe start using it for 5 minutes a day, 5 minutes every other day, once a week. I'm sure you can relate. Well, then one day, someone just recommended Clozemaster in a comment on one of my videos, and I actually do read everything that you guys leave me, and all it took was that one comment, so I decided that I was gonna start using Clozemaster, and I pre-committed to using Clozemaster every day for 2 weeks. But I pretty quickly realized 2 weeks was not enough to do this app justice. So I decided that rather than just doing it for 2 weeks just for the purpose of making a video about it, I would give it a try for 2 full months, which is what I did, and it was a pretty good experience. So here are a few insights from my very first day using the app all the way up until this week, 2 months later. Hey guys, Aaron from the future here. I just wanted to let you know one more thing really quick, which is that I just got in contact with the support from Clozemaster, and they sent me an affiliate link. So I am going to put that up here. And we're in talks right now about possibly also a discount code. I don't know all the details for that yet, but I will put them in the description below once I find out. Anyways, I just want to be very clear up front that I do not recommend apps that I don't believe in, whether or not they send me an affiliate link. I really did enjoy the 2 months that I used Clozemaster, and I don't think it was a waste of my money. So if Clozemaster is something that you think you would be interested in, go ahead and use my affiliate link, which I will also put in the description below, and then a small amount of money will come back to support my channel so I can keep doing what I love, which is creating videos about language learning. Hey guys, today is my first time using the Clozemaster app, and I'm going to give you my first impressions of this app today. But I'm also going to pre-commit to using this app every day for the next 2 weeks. And I'm going to do that whether or not I like the app. Alright, so I actually haven't used this app at all. I don't even really know where to start yet. I guess I'll just go straight to play. Text input, multiple choice. We're going to go with multiple choice and let's just play. Okay, this is pretty advanced for me. Tom ni ok jak Prasad. Okay, this is pretty tough. This is a little bit above my current level of Thai. I'm not sure if it will automatically adjust to meet me at my current level. I'm gonna go with Blom. Hey, I got it right! So my very first impression of Clozemaster was that the first question was too hard for my current level. And it never did automatically adapt to my current level, but that's okay. I started to get used to the phrases and the vocabulary words as I reviewed them more and more. Sometimes I clicked on the little ignore icon so that it would stop showing me words or phrases that were too difficult or too easy for my current level, but I didn't have to do that very often. Actually, what I found was that rather than the app adapting to my current level of difficulty, I adapted to the difficulty level of the words and the phrases that the app was showing me. Okay, so this is actually easier than I thought because all I have to do is just look at the options there and choose the one that fits in the sentence. I don't need to know all the words in the sentence. พวกมันเป็น spies? Okay, that is definitely outside of my current level of Thai. I have no idea. Okay. As I was playing, I started to fiddle around with some of the options, and I started to realize that this app is fairly customizable, and you can kind of change around the format in a lot of different ways to fit what you're looking for. So like you can hide the English translation if you want to get more of an immersive effect entirely in your target language rather than translating everything into your native language, which is something that I've mentioned is a sort of a problem with a lot of language learning apps. Okay, one thing I really do like about this is that it gives me the sentence only in Thai. So I'm seeing words in the context and having to figure out what they mean, not from a translation, but from seeing how they actually work in a sentence. Now, one of the issues that I did run into was that I sort of started to realize that I could kind of cheat my way through some of the questions by just remembering one or two of the letters at the beginning of a word. So after a few reviews, I wouldn't actually have to remember the whole word. I would just remember the first letter in the word, and I got kind of lazy in that regard. So for example, with the Thai word for spies, I started off actually trying to figure out how to read the whole word, but then as time went on, I would just look at the first letter of the word, and then I would think, oh hey, I know the answer, I remember that letter, and I wouldn't have to keep reading with the rest of the word. Okay, it's cool that when you get one wrong, it then brings you back to that word again later in the same lesson. I like that. They're spies. Remember, this was the long one, right? Okay. Sailap. Okay. Alright, and that was not too difficult. Alright, it started off kind of hard and then got easier as I sort of figured out how to use the app. ได้ไหม Alright, that's actually really interesting because the answer here is a word that I actually just learned on my Memrise app. It was literally like just yesterday. I think this was one of my new words on Memrise. On Memrise, they showed me this word and they said that it means add. But they didn't give me any context for how it can mean add. So because this is giving me a context for that word, that is a lot more useful for me. And that's interesting. This app has now piqued my interest. Chandai rap kam. I don't know, invitation. Lapta. Okay. Alright, I just didn't know the word for invitation, which isn't like one of the most immediately relevant words to me, to tell you the truth. If I'm learning words like invitation, rather than the most common words up front, that just seems like it's not the most efficient use of my early vocabulary acquisition time that could be spent using words that I'm going to run into a lot more commonly. I did realize later that week that chun is a word that I hear a whole lot more often than I thought, because every time I go to the 7-Eleven across the street, one of the employees says, "Sawadee ka, chun ka," and then that word chun, it means like invitation or welcome or something along those lines, and I was hearing it all the time, just didn't realize it. So it's just another one of those instances where you learn a word and you think you're hearing it for the first time, but then you realize that this word was actually all over the place and you just never noticed it before. Alright, now like I said, 2 weeks was just not enough. So I did decide to do it for 2 full months, which was a good experience. Overall, it was good. I did definitely learn a lot of words and how those words fit into sentences during those 2 months. Alright, so I have been using Clozemaster every day for about 2 months now. And you can see here, I did miss a day about a month ago, which I don't really care about that because streaks aren't worth anything in language learning. Anyways, I have come to sort of appreciate this app a little bit more than I did the first day I tried it. It's not perfect, but it is very simple. Granted, I guess if you look at this this opening welcome page on the website, it doesn't look that simple, but trust me, the concept is simple. But it's quite powerful for as simple as it is. So after 2 months, let's go through and just see what I still think of it. And I'm going to do a review first. Okay, this is just a set phrase. I don't honestly remember it. Okay, so that one, got that one wrong. Kun dayin rao mai. Alright, so dayin is a word that means to hear. And honestly, I was not familiar with this word before using Clozemaster. But now I actually see this word all the time in the graphic novels that I'm reading. And so Clozemaster has definitely helped me, at least with the acquisition of this word.
คุณได้ยินเราไหม
Chan sao.
ฉันเศร้า
Chan sao. Okay, that's another word that I didn't really know before using Clozemaster.
ฉันเพิ่งกลับมาถึงบ้าน
Alright, so that's a word that I must have learned in this app but don't remember.
แต่งงานกับฉัน
Alright, that is a word that I remember doing in Clozemaster several times over the past 2 months. But honestly, it's like I don't actually remember the word. I remember a few of the letters in this word, and I remember getting it right the past time when I clicked like the letter that looks like this. So maybe there's some limitation with this system as far as just being able to guess based on a few of the letters that you remember from the past.
มีจดหมายมาให้ฉันบ้าง
Alright, so I just made it through another level, and I am getting quite a mix of words that I started with at the beginning of these 2 months, and I've repeatedly reviewed them over and over, and then some other words that I basically have only reviewed once or maybe haven't reviewed at all because I only saw them the first time, and then this is my first review. I have noticed that my motivation to use Clozemaster over the last 2 months has decreased a little bit. I started off using it every day for at least 10-15 minutes, and now I basically just do one review per day and kind of end it there. So Clozemaster hasn't quite solved my issue with finding SRS systems that I lose motivation for. But it does have some features that the other apps don't have, and I kind of appreciate that. And I honestly think what I might start doing now is go back to Memrise, which I had been using every day before starting Clozemaster, and maybe Memrise will feel fresh to me again. Who knows, maybe hopping from SRS to SRS system will be the secret to always maintaining a fresh motivation for whatever new system that I'm using at that moment. And then by the time I come around to the old ones again, it'll have been sufficiently long for me to not be bored with them anymore. I don't know, who knows, we'll try it. So another thing that you can do that I kind of found out partway through my period of using Clozemaster is that you can create collections, which are really useful. I have been using the collections to learn the months in Thai. The months in Thai are just something that were always really confusing to me. They all kind of sound exactly alike, and the result is that I never made any progress remembering the months. Not too long ago, I literally could not have told you one single month in Thai. So Clozemaster actually has been helping me with that. And the way I do it is I literally just created a collection, and I'll just show you some of it. So I created some random sentences just like this. May has good weather.
พฤษภาคมเป็นเดือนที่มีสภาพอากาศดี
And I chose sentences that are kind of relevant to me. So Independence Day is in July. March is too hot in Thailand. Minakom.
เดือนมีนาคมร้อนที่สุดในประเทศไทย
Alright, I realize that's an opinion. Your opinion might be different, but I made this collection in order to help me learn things that I might actually want to say in relation to the months in Thai. And if you're wondering how I chose these sentences or how I wrote these sentences and how I made sure that they were all correct, I got a lot of help from native speakers on HelloTalk, which I say all the time. HelloTalk is probably one of my top 3, or actually probably even one of my top 2 favorite language learning apps. And I did a review on it a few months ago, so you can check that out here if you're interested. Alright, and I have just reached level 25, which really doesn't motivate me at all. Actually, earlier in the month, I was a little bit motivated to level up and to want to be on the leaderboard and stuff like that. It was kind of fun trying to make sure I stayed above all the other people that were working through the Thai course, but I totally lost motivation like several weeks into that. Alright, so there's one more feature on Clozemaster that I have to tell you about, and that's what they call Clozemaster Radio, which I find to be fairly helpful. I use this a lot when I am washing the dishes or when I'm working out or doing anything that doesn't require a whole lot of mental brain power or a whole lot of focus. And the concept is simple. I guess I'll just show it to you first. I always click on sentences that I've already played, and then it's just going to play me a few sentences in Thai. It's going to give me the translation, and it's also going to give me a second to respond and try to repeat what I hear. So let's try it out.
ใครบางคนซ่อนตัวอยู่ที่มุมห้อง
Someone is hiding in the corner.
ใครบางคนซ่อนตัวอยู่ที่มุมห้อง
ใครบางคนซื้อคุยอยู่ที่มุมห้อง
ซ่อนตัวอยู่ที่มุมห้อง
ใครบางคนซื้อตัวอยู่ที่บางห้อง
อาจารย์ของเราไม่ค่อยหัวเราะ
Our teacher seldom laughs.
อาจารย์ของเราไม่ค่อยหัวเราะ
อาจารย์ของเขาไม่ค่อย
อาจารย์ของเราไม่ค่อยหัวเราะ
อาจารย์ของเขาไม่ค่อยหัวเราะ And the way that I like to use
ทอ
this,
มเรื่องร้องไห้
oops, let me wash my hands off really quick. The way that I like to use this, it's actually quite customizable, which is nice. What I do is you click up here at settings, and it allows you to choose the order in which the audio plays. So I prefer to start it off with the text in Thai to see if I can at least understand what it's saying. Then it gives me a translation, which, you could move that up, you could put it in a different order, but I don't want to do that. Then it shows me the translation, And then it plays the same original text again, the same original sentence that's in Thai. Then it gives me a second to pause so that I can try to repeat the phrase. And then it will play the original text in Thai one more time with one more opportunity for me to repeat the phrase. And then it moves on to another phrase. So I'm getting a lot of repetitions of the phrases that I'm already reviewing in my Clozemaster. And you could make the argument that all of this review in between reviews on Clozemaster kind of goes against the idea of SRS. But to me, that's okay because I'm getting a lot of repetitions and I'm getting a lot of exposure to native-like sentences in the language, which really is all that I care about when I'm using this Clozemaster Radio. Now, I decided that I will give Clozemaster a solid 7.5 out of 10 for helping me learn words in context, but it's definitely not enough to help you learn a language all by itself. Check out this playlist for more apps that you can use alongside Clozemaster if you want to make blazingly fast progress in the language that you're learning. And then go into the world and learn that language. สวัสดีค่ะเชิญค่ะ